September 13th, 1982, a winding mountain road along the French Riviera. A Rover 3500 sedan carrying two passengers plunges 45 meters down a cliff. The driver dies the next day. She's 52 years old. Her name is Grace Kelly. You know her as a Hollywood icon, an Oscar winner. The woman Alfred Hitchcock called his perfect blonde, but when she died, she wasn't an actress anymore. She was Her Serene Highness Princess Grace of Monaco. And here's what nobody talks about. Grace Kelly wasn't the first woman in this family to die tragically. She wasn't the second. She wasn't even the 10th. For 728 years, every single woman who married into or was born into the Grimaldi dynasty has suffered the same fate. Failed marriages, mysterious deaths, lives destroyed. This isn't gossip. This is documented history. And the pattern is so consistent, so undeniable, that even skeptics have to ask, is the Monaco royal family actually cursed? Today, I'm going to show you something that will change how you see wealth, power, and the price people pay for crowns they never asked for. This is the story of how an American girl from Philadelphia became a prisoner in a European palace, and why the curse that started in 1297 is still claiming victims today. Let's start with the woman you think you know, Grace Patricia Kelly, born November 12, 1929, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, upper-middle-class Irish Catholic family. Her father, Jack Kelly, was a self-made millionaire, brick construction business, Olympic rowing champion, the American dream personified. Grace was beautiful from childhood. But beauty wasn't enough in the Kelly family. You had to achieve. You had to win. Grace's older sister Peggy was the pretty one. Grace had to find another way to stand out. She chose acting. And she was extraordinary. By age 20, she was modeling in New York. By 22, she was on Broadway. By 23, she was in Hollywood. By 24, she was a star. 1952, High Noon with Gary Cooper. 1953, Mogambo with Clark Gable, Oscar nomination. 1954, The Country Girl, Oscar win. Best Actress. She was 25 years old. Alfred Hitchcock was obsessed with her. He cast her in 3 films, Dial M for Murder, Rear Window, To Catch a Thief. That last one, filmed on the French Riviera in 1954, would change everything. Because the winding coastal road she drove on in the movie would be the exact same road where she died 28 years later, but in 1954. Grace Kelly was at the peak of her power, Hollywood's golden girl. Every studio wanted her. Every director wanted to work with her. She had everything an American woman could want: career, fame, money, freedom. And then she met Prince Rainier, April 1955, the Cannes Film Festival. A photo opportunity arranged by a French magazine. Grace Kelly, Hollywood royalty, meets Prince Rainier III of Monaco, actual royalty. He's 31. She's 25. He's short, balding, socially awkward. She's radiant. They have nothing in common, but Rainier sees something he needs. Monaco is broke. The casino revenues are declining. Tourism is down. The principality needs publicity, glamour, international attention. Grace Kelly could provide all of that. And Grace sees something different. She's tired of Hollywood. Tired of being chased by married men. She wants respectability. She wants to be taken seriously. And in 1955 America, becoming a princess was the ultimate validation. They corresponded for 6 months. Rainier visited Philadelphia in December 1955. Met her family. He proposed after 3 days. Grace said yes. Here's what nobody tells you about that engagement. Monaco's constitution required the prince to marry and produce an heir or the principality would be absorbed by France. Rainier wasn't looking for love. He was looking for a broodmare with good publicity value. And Grace's father had to pay a dowry, $2 million in 1956 money. That's roughly $18 million today. Jack Kelly, the self-made millionaire, had to pay a broke European prince $1 million for the privilege of his daughter becoming a princess. Think about that. Grace Kelly, Oscar-winning actress, international star. Had to be purchased like property. That should have been the first warning sign. April 19th, 1956. The wedding. 600 guests. 30 million people watching on television. Grace wore a dress designed by Helen Rose, the MGM costume designer. It cost $7,000. About $65,000 today. The dress weighed 40 pounds. The ceremony was baroque. Medieval, alien to everything Grace knew, Catholic Mass in French, rituals she didn't understand. Rainier cold and formal beside her. Her mother cried during the ceremony. Grace thought it was joy. It wasn't. The honeymoon lasted 7 weeks. They sailed on Rainier's yacht to Corsica, then to Spain, and on that yacht, away from cameras. Grace discovered the truth. Rainier expected absolute obedience. He expected her to abandon her career completely. He expected her to produce and air as quickly as possible. Grace wanted to make one more film. Hitchcock had written Marnie specifically for her. She begged Rainier to let her do it. He refused. Publicly. Humiliatingly. He announced to the press that Princess Grace would never act again. Acting was beneath the dignity of Monaco royalty. Grace was 26 years old. Her career was over, and her prison sentence had just begun. But Grace didn't know what she'd married into. She didn't know the history. She didn't know about the curse. So let me tell you how this dynasty actually started, because it began with murder, deception, and a curse that has never been broken. January 8th, 1297, Genoa, Italy, is tearing itself apart in civil war. To factions, Guelphs versus Ghibellines, Pope versus Emperor. The Grimaldi family, minor nobility, supports the Guelphs. They lose. They're exiled from Genoa with a price on their heads. Francesco Grimaldi, the family leader, needs a base of operations. He looks at a map and sees Monaco, a tiny fortress on a rock. Strategic location, weak garrison, perfect target. But Francesco doesn't have an army. He can't lay siege. So he comes up with a plan that's either brilliant or insane. He disguises himself as a Franciscan monk. Brown robe, hood covering his face. He approaches the fortress gate late at night. The guards see a monk requesting shelter. This is normal. Monasteries and fortresses regularly house traveling monks overnight. They open the gate. Francesco throws off the robe. Underneath, armor and a sword. Behind him, his soldiers, hidden in the darkness. They storm the fortress. The garrison is slaughtered. By morning, Monaco belongs to the Grimaldi family. Genoa tries to take it back. They attack repeatedly, but a fortress on a cliff is easy to defend. The Grimaldi hold, and by 1309, Genoa officially recognizes Grimaldi rule over Monaco. Now here's the legend, and whether you believe it or not, what follows is documented fact. On the day of the massacre, a Genoese girl stood in the street watching her father's body being carried out of the fortress. She was the daughter of one of the murdered guards. According to the story passed down through centuries, she screamed a curse at Francesco Grimaldi. No woman of your house will ever find happiness in marriage. Every princess will pay for the blood spilled today. Francesco laughed. He didn't believe in curses. He believed in power, money, and military force. And for 728 years, his descendants have ruled Monaco. But for 728 years, every single woman who married into or was born into this family has suffered divorces, betrayals, early deaths, mental illness. Not some of them. All of them. Every single one. Let me give you just a few examples before we get back to Grace Kelly. Because you need to understand, Grace wasn't an anomaly. She was the pattern continuing. Princess Louise d'Orleans, wife of Prince Louis II, married 1897, had one son, fled Monaco in 1902 and never returned, spent the rest of her life in Paris, refusing to see her husband. Princess Charlotte, daughter of Louis II, born illegitimate, legitimized to secure succession, forced to marry a French count, produced 2 children, abdicated her rights to the throne in 1940 just to escape the family. That brings us to Rainier's mother, Princess Charlotte. And here's where it gets interesting. Charlotte didn't want the throne. She gave her rights to her son Rainier when he was only 20. Why? Because she knew. She knew about the curse. She knew what happened to women in this family. And she got out. But Rainier didn't believe in curses, just like Francesco Grimaldi didn't believe, just like every Grimaldi prince for 7 centuries didn't believe. And when Grace Kelly said yes to his proposal, she had no idea what she was walking into. Monaco in 1956 was not what Americans imagined. Yes, there was a palace. Yes, there were yachts in the harbor, but the principality was tiny, 2 square kilometers. You could walk across the entire country in 15 minutes. Everyone knew everyone. Privacy didn't exist. And Grace Kelly, the most famous woman in the world, discovered she couldn't leave the palace without being mobbed. The first year was performative. Public appearances, photo opportunities, Grace smiling in Dior dresses, Rainier stiff in military uniforms. They looked perfect in magazines. But inside the palace, the reality was different. Rainier was a control freak. He monitored Grace's schedule. He decided who she could see. He read her mail before she did. He listened to her phone calls. Grace tried to maintain friendships with her Hollywood friends, but Rainier discouraged it. He wanted her focused on Monaco, focused on him, focused on producing heirs. January 1957. Grace gives birth to Princess Caroline. Rainier gets his heir to the throne, but he wants a backup. Grace gets pregnant again immediately. March 1958. Prince Albert is born. The succession is secured. You'd think Rainier would relax. He didn't. He wanted a 3rd child. Grace was exhausted. She'd gone from Hollywood actress to baby factory in 2 years. She begged for a break. Rainier refused. February 1965. Princess Stephanie is born. 3 children in 8 years. Grace was 35. Her acting career was dead. Her friendships with Hollywood stars had faded. She was isolated in a tiny country where she didn't speak the language fluently. She was trapped. And Rainier was cheating. Openly. He had a mistress in Paris. He had affairs with actresses who came to Monaco for the film festival. Grace knew. Everyone knew. But she couldn't do anything about it. Divorce wasn't an option. The Catholic Church wouldn't allow it. Monaco wouldn't allow it. Her family's reputation wouldn't survive it. So Grace did what women in her position have always done. She self-medicated. She started drinking. Not publicly, not scandalously, but steadily. Wine with lunch, cocktails in the afternoon, more wine at dinner, enough to numb the disappointment. She also gained weight. The woman who'd been Hollywood's perfect blonde was now 40 pounds heavier. The fashion magazines that had worshipped her now criticized her. She stopped looking at them. By the 1970s, Grace was clinically depressed. She wrote letters to friends saying she regretted giving up her career. She said marrying Rainier was the biggest mistake of her life. She said if she could do it over, she'd have stayed in Hollywood, but she couldn't do it over. She was trapped. And the curse was waiting. September 13th, 1982. Grace is driving from the family's country home in Rock Angel back to Monaco. She's behind the wheel of a Rover 3500. Her daughter Stephanie, 17 years old, is in the passenger seat. This is unusual. Grace typically has a driver, but on this day, for reasons never fully explained, she's driving herself. They're taking the winding coastal road, the same road Grace drove in to catch a thief 28 years earlier. It's a beautiful day, clear sky, no rain, no mechanical problems with the car. Grace is an experienced driver. There's no reason for anything to go wrong. At approximately 9:50 am, the car leaves the road. It doesn't skid. It doesn't brake. Security footage later shows the car simply rolling off the edge of the road as if the driver fell asleep or lost consciousness. The car plunges 45 meters down the hillside. It crashes through trees. It rolls multiple times. It comes to rest upside down. Local residents hear the crash. They call emergency services. Firefighters arrive within minutes. They extract both passengers from the wreckage. Grace is unconscious. Stephanie is in shock but conscious. Grace is rushed to Monaco Hospital. Doctors discover she has A stroke, a massive cerebral hemorrhage. She's placed on life support. The palace releases a statement saying Princess Grace was injured in a car accident and is receiving medical treatment, but Grace never regains consciousness. The next day, September 14th, Rainier makes the decision to remove life support. Grace Patricia Kelly Grimaldi dies at 10 p.m. She's 52 years old. The official story: Grace had a minor stroke while driving. She lost control of the car. The crash didn't kill her. The stroke did. It was a medical emergency, not an accident. But here's what doesn't add up. Why was Grace driving? She always had a driver. Why was Stephanie with her? Stephanie later claims she can't remember the accident clearly. Why that road? There are easier, safer routes from Rockagel to Monaco. And why did palace security wait 14 hours to announce Grace's death? Theories emerged immediately. Some said Stephanie was actually driving. She was 17. Just learning. Maybe she made a mistake. And the family covered it up to protect her. Stephanie has always denied this. But her memory of the event is suspiciously vague. Others suggested the car was sabotaged. Grace had been planning to return to Hollywood. She'd received an offer to narrate a documentary. Rainier had publicly opposed it. What if someone wanted to ensure she never left? The darkest theory: Grace did it on purpose. She drove off that cliff deliberately. She chose the same road from To Catch a Thief as a final statement. She'd rather die than continue living in the golden cage. We'll never know the truth. The investigation was handled by Monaco police, who report directly to the palace. The car was destroyed. The medical records were sealed. And the only witness, Stephanie, can't or won't remember. What we do know is this: Grace Kelly died on the exact road where she filmed a movie about a princess of Monaco. The irony is too perfect to ignore. The curse had claimed another victim. Grace's funeral was held on September 18, 1982. 400 dignitaries attended. Presidents, monarchs, Hollywood stars who'd worked with her decades earlier. Rainier was publicly devastated. Privately, he remained emotionally closed. But the curse didn't stop with Grace, because Grace had 3 children, and all 3 have lived out the exact same pattern. Princess Caroline, the eldest, beautiful, educated, sophisticated. She married Felipe Junot in 1978. He was a playboy, a gambler. The marriage lasted 2 years. Caroline got it annulled. She married again in 1983 to Stefano Casarati, an Italian industrialist. 3 children. It seemed stable. Then in 1990, Stefano died in a powerboat racing accident. He was 30 years old. Caroline was widowed at 33. She married a 3rd time in 1999 to Prince Ernst August of Hanover. Scandalous marriage. Ernst had alcohol problems. Public brawls. Rests. They're technically still married but have lived separately since the 2010s. 3 marriages. 1 divorce. 1 widowhood. 1 separation. Caroline has never found lasting happiness. Princess Stephanie, the youngest, she was in the car when Grace died. The trauma changed her forever. Stephanie became the rebel. Pop music career. Relationships with circus performers. She married her bodyguard in 1995. Divorced. After 1 year, she married a circus elephant trainer in 2003. Divorced after 10 months. 2 children from different fathers, never found stability, never found peace. Prince Albert, the heir, he avoided marriage for decades. Everyone asked why. He had numerous relationships. He fathered 2 children out of wedlock with different mothers. Jasmine Grimaldi, born in 92. Alexander Grimaldi Coast, born in 2003. Neither child has succession rights. Albert finally married in 2011. He was 53. He chose Charlene Whitstock, a South African Olympic swimmer. The wedding was planned for July, but days before the ceremony, Charlene tried to flee. Literally, she went to the airport. Her passport was confiscated by palace security. She couldn't leave the country. Journalists photographed her crying at the wedding. Photos went viral. The princess who cried at her own wedding. Why did she want to escape? Officially, no one says. And officially, She'd learned about Albert's third illegitimate child, born during their relationship. She felt betrayed, but her family had already invested millions in the wedding. Monaco couldn't afford the scandal. Charlene was trapped. Since 2011, Charlene has lived as Princess of Monaco. Twin children, Jacques and Gabriella, born in 2014, but the marriage is cold. Albert and Charlene are rarely seen together. She frequently travels to South Africa, sometimes for months. Paparazzi photograph her looking miserable. In 2021, Charlene disappeared from public life for months. Official statement: medical treatment at a private clinic. For what? The palace wouldn't say. Journalists speculated. Depression, exhaustion, maybe worse. The curse continues. Every woman in this family suffers. Grace died. Caroline lost a husband. Stephanie had 3 failed marriages. Charlene is a prisoner. 7 centuries. No happiness. None. So here's what you need to understand. Grace Kelly wasn't just a tragic Hollywood story. She was the latest victim in a pattern that started in 1297 when Francesco Grimaldi murdered his way to power. The Grimaldi family built their wealth on blood, deception, and human weakness. They survived because they were ruthless. They got rich by running casinos, exploiting gambling addiction, feeding on human desperation. They became respectable by donating money, building museums, funding hospitals. But you can't wash blood off with charity. You can't erase a curse with PR campaigns. And for 728 years, every woman who married into or was born into this dynasty has paid the price. Is it a real supernatural curse, or is it just a pattern of dysfunction? A family that values power over love, that treats women as assets rather than people. Maybe the curse isn't magic. Maybe it's mathematics. When you build wealth by destroying lives, that destruction comes back to you. Grace Kelly gave up everything to become a princess. She gave up her career, her independence, her freedom, her happiness, and she died on the same road where she once played a princess in a movie. The symbolism is devastating. Today, Monaco is the richest country on earth per capita. 2 square kilometers of luxury where yachts cost billions and taxes don't exist. But inside the palace, there's darkness, unhappy marriages, illegitimate children, scandals, secrets. The Grimaldi dynasty has ruled longer than almost any other European family, but they've never had what matters most: peace, love, happiness. And as long as the dynasty exists, the curse will continue. Because some things you can't buy with money, some things you can't control with power, and some suffering doesn't end until the line that caused it ends. Grace Kelly became a princess, but she never found her fairy tale. Because in Monaco, fairy tales don't exist. Only curses. And the curse that began when a Genos girl screamed at a murderer in 1297 is still claiming victims today. The question isn't whether the curse is real. The question is, who's next?